Ever wondered how a paradise like the Dominican Republic, celebrated for its vibrant culture and spectacular landscapes, is also a breeding ground for racism and colorism? Situated in the Caribbean heartland, the Dominican Republic is a harmonious fusion of sparkling turquoise waters, lush mountains, and radiant beaches, a true melting pot of cultures. From the pulsating merengue dance to the mouth-watering scent of sancocho, the cultural wealth of this land is as varied as its inhabitants. However, beneath this tropical paradise's facade, there lies a less visible but deeply impactful story, a tale of racism and colorism. This narrative is intertwined into the very core of the Dominican society, casting a long dark shadow over its vibrant hues. Here, skin color is more than just a physical characteristic. It's an identity marker, a determinant of social standing, and sadly, a basis for discrimination. A complex colorism system, deeply embedded in the country's history, continues to shape the present. In the Dominican Republic, the lighter your skin, the higher your perceived social status. This perception has unfortunately led to a widespread bias against individuals with darker skin tones, especially those of Haitian descent. This bias isn't restricted to social interactions but extends to institutional practices as well. The paradox is striking. A country that takes pride in its rich cultural diversity, but grapples with significant racial disparities. A land where the rhythm of merengue fills the air, yet the melody of racial equality remains a distant dream. To comprehend this paradox, we must delve deep into the historical archives where this issue's roots lie. So join us on this journey as we unveil the unseen colors of the Caribbean. The Dominican Republic and Haiti's history is as interconnected as it is tumultuous. To comprehend the racial tension genesis between these two nations, we must travel back to the colonial era. Hispaniola Island, shared by both countries, was a colonial activity hub, with the Spanish establishing their base in the Dominican Republic and the French in Haiti. However, the power balance shifted dramatically in the early 19th century when Haiti, after its successful revolution, governed the entire island, including the Dominican Republic, for 22 years. These years, commonly referred to as the Haitian occupation, left a profound impression on the Dominican psyche. The Haitian rule was marked by a strict regime, and many Dominicans felt oppressed and marginalized. This period also witnessed an attempt to erase Spanish influences and establish French and African cultural dominance. This resulted in a deep-rooted resentment towards Haiti and its people, a sentiment fueled further by a sense of lost identity and sovereignty. This resentment wasn't a fleeting emotion, but was ingrained into the Dominican society by its leaders, who propagated a narrative of racial superiority. The Dominicans, they claimed, were descendants of the European colonizers, and therefore superior to the African-descended Haitians. This narrative successfully tapped into the existing resentment and further widened the racial divide. History isn't just about events and timelines, it's about people and their emotions. The years of Haitian rule, the feeling of oppression, the loss of identity, and the subsequent narrative of racial superiority all contributed to a collective Dominican consciousness that views Haiti and its people through suspicion and mistrust. This history planted the seeds of a deep-rooted resentment that still resonates in today's corridors of power. Leadership can be a powerful force in shaping a nation's identity and values. Unfortunately, in the case of the Dominican Republic, several presidents have used this power to fuel the racial divide, even when some of them had Haitian ancestry themselves. Let's take a closer look at some of these leaders and their impact on the nation's racial tension. Our journey begins with Ulysses Herreau, who ruled the Dominican Republic for over 2 decades in the late 19th century. Despite having Haitian roots on his mother's side, Herreau was known for his brutal and oppressive regime, and he was also notorious for his anti-Haitian sentiments. His policies were designed to marginalize Haitians and their descendants, contributing significantly to the racial divide between Dominicans and Haitians. Next, we have Rafael Trujillo, who ruled from 1930 to 1961. Ironically, Trujillo himself had Haitian ancestry through his grandmother, yet his rule was marked by an intense anti-Haitian sentiment, culminating in the infamous Parsley Massacre of 1937, where an estimated 20,000 Haitians were killed over a few days. Trujillo's policies were rooted in a narrative of racial superiority, claiming that Dominicans were superior to Haitians due to their heritage. Lastly, we come to Joaquin Balaguer, who served 7 non-consecutive terms as president between 1960 and 1996. Despite having a Haitian grandmother, Balaguer perpetuated the anti-Haitian policies of his predecessors, including mass deportations of Haitians and Dominicans of Haitian descent. His policies have had long-term effects on the racial divide in the Dominican Republic, with the echoes of his leadership still felt today. These leaders, some of them having Haitian ancestry, have used their power to sow seeds of division and hatred, creating a lasting legacy of racial tension that continues to shape the Dominican Republic. Their actions serve as a stark reminder of the power of leadership and its potential to either unite or divide a nation. In the heart of the Dominican Republic, a pervasive issue of colorism and the denial of African roots persist. The Dominican society, deeply influenced by the historical narrative of racial superiority, has developed a selective identification with their European ancestry. This selective identification is a reflection of the deep-seated colorism that permeates the society. Colorism, a prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone, is a direct offshoot of the systemic racism in the Dominican Republic. It is a societal bias that favors lighter skin tones, associating them with beauty, privilege, and social acceptance. This bias is so deeply ingrained in the Dominican society that it has led to a harmful practice prevalent among many Dominicans: skin bleaching. Skin bleaching, a dangerous process involving the use of chemical products to lighten the skin, has become a widespread practice. Driven by societal pressure to conform to Eurocentric beauty standards, many Dominicans risk their health in the pursuit of a lighter skin tone. It's a problem that goes beyond skin deep, symbolizing the internalized racism and the denial of their African heritage. The denial of African roots is another manifestation of the systemic issue that fuels the divide in the country. Despite a significant part of the Dominican population having African ancestry, many choose to identify with their Spanish or indigenous Taino heritage, overlooking their African roots. Despite the denial, it's estimated that up to 85% of Dominicans have African ancestry, a testament to the country's rich and diverse heritage. This denial is more than a personal choice, it's a societal norm nurtured by the narrative of superiority. The denial of African roots and the harmful practice of skin bleaching are not isolated issues. They are part and parcel of the systemic racism that has shaped the Dominican society, a testament to the power of narratives and societal norms in defining a nation's identity. The Dominican Republic government has often been accused of nurturing this racial divide over the years. This issue's roots stretch back to when Haiti ruled over the Dominican Republic, a period that left a bitter taste and a deep-seated resentment among many Dominicans. Over time, this resentment has been perpetuated and sometimes even encouraged by the government through a series of policies and actions. One such instance is the controversial ruling by the Dominican Constitutional Court in 2013. This ruling retroactively stripped Dominican citizenship from individuals born to undocumented immigrants, primarily affecting Dominicans of Haitian descent. This ruling displaced tens of thousands of people, rendering them stateless in their homeland. It's a clear demonstration of how government policies have been instrumental in widening the country's racial divide. This systemic oppression isn't confined to the legal realm. It's mirrored in instances of public discrimination and violence against Haitians and dark-skinned Dominicans. These acts are often overlooked or even justified by authorities, further cementing the racial divide. This systemic racism has not only shaped the Dominican society, but has also spilled over its borders. It's a regime fueled by a historical grudge, reinforced by government policies and societal norms, and has been a source of injustice for far too many. It's a regime that needs to be challenged and ultimately dismantled. As a popular tourist destination, the Dominican Republic has faced criticism for its treatment of foreign visitors of African descent, particularly African Americans. There have been numerous instances where tourists of African heritage, drawn by the island's tropical allure, have been met with an unwelcoming reception. For example, a well-documented case involved an African-American couple from New York who reported being subjected to racial slurs and unjustified scrutiny by local police during their vacation. These experiences are not just mere inconveniences. They are explicit manifestations of the racial bias that exists within the system. In fact, due to the frequency and severity of these incidents, the United States felt compelled to issue a warning to dark-skinned American tourists in 2022 about the racial bias they might face in the Dominican Republic. The locals, too, are not exempt from this prejudice. African American tourists have shared distressing stories of being treated with disdain or indifference by the very people whose livelihoods depend on tourism. This is not to say that all Dominicans harbor such biases. These experiences are far too common to be dismissed as isolated incidents. The stark contrast between the warm, inviting image of the Dominican Republic portrayed in travel brochures and the cold reality of its racial prejudices is jarring. It is a chilling reminder that even in the most idyllic of settings, the specter of racism can rear its ugly head. The irony is palpable. A country that prides itself on its vibrant and rich African heritage struggles to embrace the diversity of its visitors. A nation that markets as a melting of cultures, yet fails to extend its warmth to all its guests. These instances of discrimination and prejudice are not just damaging to the individual tourists affected. They also tarnish the reputation of Dominican Republic as a welcoming tourist destination. They cast a long, dark shadow over the sun-kissed beaches and crystal-clear waters that the country is famous for. Sadly, the beauty of the Dominican Republic is often marred by the ugliness of its racial bias. Racism and colorism in the Dominican Republic is a complex issue deeply rooted in its history, but like any tree with deep roots, the strength to change can also be found within those same roots. Let's explore the potential solutions that hold the promise of a brighter future. Firstly, education is key. By fostering a curriculum that teaches the true history of the Dominican Republic and Haiti, we can begin to untangle the web of misconceptions and prejudices that have been woven over time. This education isn't just for the school children, it's for everyone, from the government officials to the local shopkeepers. Secondly, cultural exchange programs can play a pivotal role. By promoting interaction and understanding between Dominicans and Haitians, we can begin to erode the walls of hostility that have been built over centuries. These exchanges can be as simple as shared community projects or as involved as student exchange programs. Thirdly, policy changes are crucial. Laws and regulations that promote equality and combat discrimination are necessary. This includes immigration policies, employment laws, and social welfare programs. Social media also has a unique role to play in this journey towards change. It's a powerful tool that can be used to raise awareness about these issues, to share stories of those affected by racism and colorism, and to foster an open dialogue about these deeply ingrained prejudices. In the digital age, anyone can be a catalyst for change, but change is not easy. It requires time, patience, and perseverance. It requires us to challenge our own biases and to listen to the experiences of others. It asks us to strive for a world where the color of our skin is not a barrier, but a celebration of our diversity. It is only through understanding, acceptance, and change that the Dominican Republic can truly become a paradise for all.